With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know.
And I think, again, staying connected, staying positive and being able to talk to friends and family is so crucial.
For months, the world watched in tense silence, sensing that something deeply wrong was brewing behind the palace walls. The whispers of concern grew louder with every cancelled appearance and postponed event, yet no one dared speak openly. Then, Buckingham Palace released unusually somber news in a rare joint statement. King Charles and Prince William confirmed heartbreaking information about Princess Catherine's health, sending shockwaves through the nation. The royal family faced a truth too heavy to hide any longer, a reality no polished announcement could soften. So what exactly led to this devastating announcement? Stay with us as we uncover the shocking revelation the royals had been desperately trying to keep secret. Behind the towering gates of Windsor and the endless halls of Kensington, a truth had been growing larger, darker, and more powerful than any carefully crafted palace statement could convey. Something inside the royal world had shifted forever, and this time, it couldn't be undone. The royals weren't arranging perfect photo ops or curating flawless public images. They were hiding something massive. They were guarding a secret, protecting a reality, and struggling to explain it. Slowly, the outside world began noticing the missing pieces. Questions arose, timelines were compared, old interviews replayed, and the realization hit: something was terribly, profoundly wrong. This wasn't a minor recovery or a delayed appearance. It was far more serious. It marked the start of a darker chapter in the royal story, one shaped not by glamour and grace, but by fear, uncertainty, and human vulnerability. As the curtain of secrecy began to lift, royal watchers pieced together chilling clues from behind the palace walls. Prince William was no longer just the calm, composed future king. Everyone saw him as a husband consumed by worry, watching the woman he loved slowly fade in front of him. Friends say he barely slept, hardly spoke, and wandered the palace like a man trapped inside his own thoughts. For the first time in his life, all the royal discipline, diplomacy, and training couldn't protect him. This wasn't a scandal to spin or a rumor to deny. This was Catherine, the mother of his children, slipping away in a way that left him powerless. The burden grew unbearable. Adelaide Cottage, usually echoing with laughter and children's chatter, had fallen into an eerie silence where every creak in the floor and every unanswered question felt like a warning. William, raised to hide emotion, now felt a crushing helplessness stronger than any sense of duty. His days blurred into endless medical meetings, hurried calls, and nights staring into the dark, hoping to catch the smallest sign of improvement. What scared him most wasn't what he saw happening, it was what he didn't. The spark in her eyes, the steady confidence, the warmth she carried into every room, all fading. Even their children couldn't lift her spirit. Silence hung over the home like a thick, suffocating fog. But William's breaking point wasn't only her illness, it was the palace's stubborn refusal to tell the truth. Senior advisors insisted on secrecy, claiming it was to protect the crown and calm the public. They feared too much information would create chaos. William saw it differently. This wasn't about reputation, it was about giving Catherine dignity, about letting the world truly understand what she was fighting. Arguments erupted behind closed doors. Advisors pleaded for him to stay quiet, but William was done listening. In one bold moment that shocked even King Charles, he sent a private email containing just 5 words: "She deserves more than silence." Someone close to the situation leaked the email, and the media exploded. But William no longer cared. His patience had vanished. His focus was entirely on Catherine, the woman who had supported him through every royal challenge, now struggling to breathe. While the world wondered where she had gone, advisors attempted to stage gentle statements, photos, and carefully constructed messages to soothe the public. But William refused. He began reaching out to a few trusted journalists, dropping hints and revealing fragments of the truth. The palace did not approve. His frustration was written on his face, in his tone, and in the silent way he walked out of meetings without a word. Then, in mid-March, everything collapsed. Catherine's condition suddenly worsened. Doctors altered their approach, ramping up treatments. A cold shadow fell across the palace. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a minor setback. The future queen's life was in real danger, and the palace's silence had become its greatest mistake. But what had led to this heartbreaking moment, and why reveal it now? It all began with Catherine's sudden absence. Her disappearance from public life was the first glaring sign something was wrong. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. No events, no photos, no reassuring updates. Initially, the palace insisted her surgery had gone well, and she simply needed time to recover. Yet those who followed the royal family closely sensed something off. The royal household never let silence stretch this long without reason. Every passing day without an update only heightened the worry. William wasn't seen visiting the hospital. No photos showed the children spending time with their mother. Even the usual staged images designed to calm the public were gone. The royal gate stayed firmly shut, and the world was left with only questions and growing dread. The media, famous for chasing every hint of royal news, found nothing. Not a single paparazzi photo, not a casual sighting, not even a whispered update from hospital staff. Catherine seemed to vanish completely. Then things grew even more unsettling. Prince William began cancelling events with almost no explanation. Charity galas, speeches, official visits, he pulled out of them all. And when he did appear in public, he looked drained, his expression tight, worried, almost haunted. Insiders later revealed that his staff had been instructed to clear his schedule indefinitely, but no public announcement was to be made. This was no longer routine recovery. Something serious was going on. Slowly, tiny fragments of information began slipping out from inside the palace. Unexpected complications, whispered one aide during a private event. They're trying to manage the fallout, said another. Yet official statements from the palace remained unchanged, polite and sterile. Privacy, rest, healing. Then came the leak that changed everything. A staff member from the London clinic, speaking anonymously to a foreign journalist, dropped just 4 chilling words. "It's worse than they say." When those words hit the news, they spread across the globe within hours. The palace refused to comment, but the public mood shifted instantly. Suddenly, even the most cautious news outlets began questioning the official story. The silence meant to protect Catherine now felt like a warning. And that's when the unravelling truly began. Why were there no photos showing she was improving? Why had William stopped speaking? Why had Catherine disappeared so completely? Let's take a closer look at the hidden truth behind the royal gates. For decades, Charles had been known as cautious, quiet, and controlled. But when it came to Catherine, all that disappeared. During an emotional meeting at Clarence House, he reportedly slammed his fist on the table and said, "No more hiding! Let the world know what she's fighting." It was a turning point, a moment when the king set aside tradition and fear and chose honesty. He had watched the palace drown in its own silence. He had watched his son suffer endlessly. And after a private 15-minute visit to Adelaide Cottage, standing at Catherine's bedside, something inside him shifted forever. When he left, his face was pale, his hands shook, the royal mask he normally wore had cracked. He realised Catherine wasn't simply recovering. She was fighting for her life, and the family's future hung by a fragile thread. A power struggle erupted when Queen Camilla suggested a controlled, careful update. Charles cut her off sharply. "Finally, this isn't about optics anymore. It's about her." For the first time, King Charles overruled everyone. He demanded full transparency. No half-truths, no delays. Some advisors feared panic, while others believed honesty would restore trust. But Charles made the decision not as a monarch, but as a father-in-law watching someone he loved slip away. Something unexpected happened. Charles and William, who had grown distant under pressure, began coming together again. The anger, fear, and tension that had kept them apart slowly melted. Side by side, they reviewed statements, chose their words carefully, and prepared to speak, not as royals, but as men whose lives had been changed forever by grief and uncertainty. Yet one truth remained hidden. The public didn't know it. The family had only recently learned it. Catherine's decline hadn't started suddenly. It hadn't appeared out of nowhere. The illness had been quietly developing. Confidential documents revealed that the palace had known, at least in part, for months. A secret buried under protocols, optimism, and fear, now finally clawing its way into the light. Why was the truth kept from everyone? And who demanded the silence? Let's find out. Catherine's silent battle began late in 2023. What was supposed to be a routine health check became the start of a quiet nightmare. During the screening, doctors noticed strange irregularities in her blood, subtle hints that something wasn't right. At first, the results were brushed aside as unclear, small anomalies that could mean anything, or maybe nothing. Yet the palace doctors kept watching, quietly, almost nervously. Then December came, bringing more tests. The results only deepened concern. By then, pain had already become part of Catherine's daily life. She was slimmer, moving slower, visibly tired, but still pushing herself to fulfill every royal duty. Even when doctors urged her to rest, to take a step back, she pressed on. She continued to smile at events, host meetings for her early childhood program, and film segments for causes she cared about. But behind that bright, reassuring smile raged a private, silent battle. Almost no one knew how severe it was. Only a handful of trusted palace staff grasped the true danger. Catherine collapsed twice behind closed doors. Once during a private charity dinner, another time at a Royal Children's Hospital visit. Each incident was covered with military precision. Guests were told she had a migraine. Security moved swiftly. No photos leaked. No reporters caught wind. But inside the palace, panic was quietly escalating. William, more than anyone, saw the truth. He watched her body weaken. He saw how little she ate. He saw how hard she fought just to keep the image of strength alive. He begged her, truly begged her, to stop working. "Please, rest. Let the doctors find out what's going on," he reportedly told her. But Catherine refused. In her mind, she wasn't just a princess. She was a symbol, steadiness, kindness, and stability. "Let me work while I still can," she supposedly told him, holding her private struggle close to her heart. People needed to see something steady. Catherine's will was unbreakable, but her body was not. And that painful contrast, her determination against her declining health, terrified William more than anything else. Behind the scenes, senior aides were grappling with yet another crisis. King Charles was confronting his own health challenges, and the thought of announcing that two of the monarchy's most vital figures were seriously ill felt like a disaster waiting to explode. They feared the public would panic, questions about succession would ignite, and the royal family would appear fragile rather than strong. So, the truth was buried. Catherine agreed, temporarily reassured herself that it was early, manageable, and that treatment could begin quietly. But cancer doesn't care about schedules, public image, or reassurance. It spread faster, more aggressively than anyone anticipated. By the time the palace was ready to admit the truth, the situation was already spiraling out of control. Doctors grew concerned. Advisors whispered their guilt in private. None could undo the silence that had cost precious time. The damage extended beyond Catherine's health. It threatened the trust between the monarchy and a public who believed in its strength. Torn between his role as a prince and as a husband, William began distancing himself from those who had pressured them into secrecy. The institution had chosen silence and lost. But amid all these hidden fears and secret decisions, no one expected what Catherine would do next. She stunned the nation with a single courageous act. Without alerting the palace press team or following royal protocol, Catherine recorded a video. It was raw, unpolished, and painfully real. She stood in the garden where her children once played, but her words carried weight far beyond the backdrop. Her voice trembled, and in just 94 seconds, she changed how the world perceived the royal family forever. No palace statements, no staged photos, no glossy press releases. Just Catherine, honest, vulnerable, speaking directly into the camera. She began by thanking everyone for their patience and support. Then came the words that froze the nation. She confirmed the rumors. The surgery had revealed cancer, and she was now undergoing preventive chemotherapy. Her face remained calm, but her eyes held the gravity of someone who had faced fear and now confronted it openly. She didn't go into medical details. Instead, she spoke of family strength, the importance of privacy, but anyone listening closely could sense something more. An unspoken goodbye threaded softly between the lines, as if she were preparing the world for an uncertain future.
I've seen that experiences such as homelessness, addiction, and poor mental health.
The reaction was immediate. Social media ignited within minutes. The video spread worldwide, translated into dozens of languages. Experts analysed every second. Royal commentators debated every phrase. Hashtags supporting her flooded the internet. Candlelight vigils appeared outside Kensington Palace and Windsor Castle. Strangers cried together in the streets. People weren't responding to a princess. They were responding to a human being, a mother, a wife, a woman fighting for her life. Her openness shattered the cold, distant image of the monarchy, replacing it with something raw, painfully real. But behind closed doors, the emotional aftermath was even heavier. William, reportedly unaware she would release the video that day, appeared genuinely shaken during a school visit. When a student softly asked about Catherine, he turned away, paused, and for the first time in his public life, openly cried in front of a crowd. The press, stunned, chose not to publish the footage out of respect. They understood this was more than news, it was heartbreak. From that moment on, everything changed. The monarchy, so long protected by tradition and secrecy, was thrust into a new era. Catherine had done what no royal had ever done before. She revealed the vulnerability behind the royal mask. Instead of weakening her, it made the world love her even more. But while the public admired her bravery, another storm was quietly brewing behind palace doors. Catherine needed rest, and the palace, now fully aware of the crisis, had to act. Decisions had to be made. Decisions that would shape not only Catherine's future, but the monarchy's future. Who would stand in for her if she couldn't? Who would protect the children in her absence? And to whom would the public turn if their beloved princess never returned? Let's take a closer look. Fraying alliances began to crack. Hidden agendas surfaced. Not every member of the royal family had Catherine's well-being at heart. In the days after her video, the world watched with quiet admiration, while inside the palace, tension and worry simmered. Catherine was more than a symbol of modern royalty. She was the thread holding the monarchy together, and that thread was starting to fray behind heavy curtains and thick walls. A new, almost unthinkable conversation began, sending ripples of political maneuvering through the royal ranks. Camilla, long practiced in navigating power quietly, reportedly began expressing interest in taking on more visible ceremonial duties. Some saw it as an opportunity to step into the spotlight, while sympathy for the royal family surged. But not everyone welcomed the idea. Princess Anne, whose loyalty to Catherine was forged in grit rather than glamour, acted quickly. She and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, opposed any move to replace Catherine too soon. They reportedly spoke directly to King Charles, warning that even discussing a substitute would feel like betrayal to both the family and the public. Anne, never shy with her opinions, allegedly cautioned that rushing to fill Catherine's role could shatter the monarchy beyond repair. Yet tension only grew behind every closed door. Two forces collided, loyalty versus practicality, and at the centre of it all was William. He refused to entertain the idea of stand-ins or replacements. He understood the pressure, but even acknowledging a backup plan would feel like surrender, and he wasn't ready to give up on Catherine. Not now. Not ever. Advisors tried reasoning with him, pointing out the need for continuity and the inevitable public demand for answers. William's response was firm and unwavering. She's not gone. As days passed with no updates, the pressure became almost unbearable. Aides debated whether releasing a progress report would calm public nerves or just invite more scrutiny. The palace communications team froze, caught between guarding Catherine's privacy and maintaining control over the story. Meanwhile, secret contingency plans quietly took shape. Alternative schedules, redistributed patronages, subtle reshuffling of official duties, and emergency protocols quietly discussed. Every move was hidden behind closed doors, but William noticed it all. Tensions that had long simmered in silence suddenly roared louder than ever. Trust within the royal family was cracking, and the fragile sense of unity threatened to slip completely through their fingers. Just when it seemed the family might fracture under the weight of fear, rumours and speculation, something extraordinary happened. A twist no one expected. Once again, Catherine was at the centre of the Crown story as the world braced for more bad news. A new royal statement arrived, this time directly from Catherine herself. With a mix of caution and quiet joy, she revealed what so many had prayed for but barely dared to hope. The cancer was in remission. Even this good news carried a shadow, a lingering question whispered in every corner of the palace and every home watching closely. How long would this peace last? Catherine's message was brief, deliberate, and deeply moving. She began by thanking the public for their outpouring of support, their messages of compassion and unwavering love. She spoke of resilience, faith, and the strength she drew from her husband and children during her darkest days. And then, with quiet but unmistakable pride, she shared the miraculous news. Her treatment had worked, and for now, the cancer was no longer active. The words rippled across the globe like a tide of cautious celebration. News outlets called it a miracle. Social media erupted with prayers, cheers, and tears. Yet beneath the surge of relief, there was subtle restraint. Catherine did not present her remission as a triumph. She framed it as a careful step forward on a road still long and uncertain. Her tone was steady but humble, acknowledging the physical and emotional toll of the past months even now. Her voice carried a faint tremor, the voice of someone who had faced the edge and lived to tell the tale. She emphasized vigilance, reminding everyone that remission did not mean the danger was gone. Medical experts echoed her caution. Signs of cancer might have receded, but risk remained. Careful monitoring would now become a part of her daily life inside the palace. William, overjoyed yet protective, insisted that Catherine's return to public life be measured and gentle. Wise and self-aware, Catherine agreed. Slowly, she began appearing at private events, hospital visits, early childhood charity programs, and small gatherings that would not exhaust her strength. The difference was clear. She looked thinner, more reserved, her radiant glow tempered by months of recovery. But she smiled. That smile, simple as it was, rekindled a fragile flame of hope. One moment captured the world's heart, Catherine walking hand in hand with her children at a school event. It was not a grand official occasion, yet profoundly symbolic, a silent message that life, though fragile, was moving forward. Parents and teachers described her as gracious, focused entirely on her children, visibly moved by the reception. She was still a mother, striving to give them a sense of normalcy, yet questions lingered. What if it comes back? What if this brief relief is only temporary? And if the unthinkable happens again, how will the monarchy brace itself for the storm ahead? Could the family survive another crisis so soon? Catherine's quiet revolution had begun. She had brought light back into the palace, but even as that glow returned, shadows lingered. The nation celebrated, but behind closed doors, a final royal decision loomed, one that could shake the monarchy to its core and test the family's unity like never before. The world might see a poised, smiling princess once more, but those who knew her best understood the storm she had endured and the trail it left behind. With King Charles and William preparing for new transitions, the royal family faced a future full of uncertainty. Catherine's courage and resilience had redrawn the monarchy's map. When the final public address was delivered, it was not pomp or fanfare. There were no grand gestures, only quiet, profound respect. King Charles and his son conveyed what so many had felt in their hearts. Her courage, he said solemnly, has reset the monarchy. In those few words, a powerful truth was sealed. Catherine had achieved what decades of rules, advisors, and ceremonies never could. She had returned humanity to the monarchy. This was no longer about appearances or tradition. It was about survival, about the rare, quiet strength needed to endure relentless public scrutiny while fighting intensely personal battles. Behind palace walls, changes had begun. Rules once set in stone were quietly rewritten. Advisors drafted plans never considered before, not just for the death of a sovereign, but for the possibility of a future queen needing to step back. Responsibilities shifted, expectations softened. The palace could no longer cling to the illusion of unending health. Catherine's ordeal had exposed the woman behind the tiara and the fragile core of an institution long resistant to change. Now it had no choice but to evolve. Her legacy extended far beyond protocol and procedure. The emotional ripples of her illness spread through monarchies, charities, and social work. Mental health, once secondary, became central. Her lifelong dedication to early childhood care took on deeper meaning. Quiet visits, handwritten notes, and gentle advocacy became part of a larger effort to bring empathy into royal duties. The old rules, show up, smile, shake hands, were no longer enough. Catherine had rewritten them. Show up, yes, but honestly, vulnerably. With scars visible and unhidden, the impact of her journey would touch those closest to her forever, especially George, Charlotte, and Louis. No longer mere heirs or ceremonial figures, they carried their mother's story. They witnessed something most royals never show: fragility, courage, and the cost of silence. Insiders say that during her darkest days, Catherine wrote each child a personal letter, sealed and stored, to be read only if she didn't return. While never confirmed publicly, the knowledge such letters exist adds weight to her legacy.
Just about happy, healthy children. This is about the society I hope we could and can become.
Catherine did not just endure her struggles, she transformed them. She gave her pain a purpose, and now, as she slowly returns to public life, the world sees not a princess clinging to her role, but a woman who faced the brink and chose to fight. A woman who reminded a nation that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers like a mother holding on. Her battle may not be over, but her courage has already reshaped the monarchy. So, what are your thoughts on King Charles and William confirming the tragic news about Catherine? Share them with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with anyone following the royal family, and help spread awareness of Catherine's incredible courage.